Hello and welcome to the Georgia HMS HUD Data Standards training video specific for all PATH, Street Outreach, and CE users. So if you operate in any of those projects in the system, this video you'll want to watch. I also have a general user video for the new data standards. You would need to watch that in addition to this one, but this one just looks at really one particular new assessment that we really wanted to spend some time and talk about, and so we didn't include it in the other video because we didn't want everyone to have to kind of sit through that. So that being said, these changes I'm going to be talking about, they are coming into the system on October 1st, 2019. So what we're going to be talking about today is HUD's new data element or assessment, which is called current living situation. Now, current living situation is their kind of official term for it. You're going to see it in ClientTrack called living situation is how we kind of refer to it on the form. So those are kind of the same things. And what this is replacing is the contact assessment that previously was just recorded for path and street outreach projects in the system. So I'm actually going to pull that up, what that looked like in the workflow. So to save a little time, I'm not going to go all the way through a workflow. I'm just going to pull up that form so we can kind of be all on the same page here. But this is a contact form, so you'd be used to seeing this in the system if you were again a path or street outreach project. And what it did was it recorded a service, and so you had a list of these services that had been coded as a quote-unquote contact service. You would choose that, and then you had the question: staying on streets, emergency shelter, or safe haven, yes or no. And then it did have this geography location here, which is really only relevant if you're using some kind of mobile device in the field to do the intake. And this wasn't anything that HUD ever required. It was just a feature that ClientTrack had. And so this was saved when you did an intake. And so if we had done an intake and saved that, we would now have a contact service that you would be able to see under the services here. And then also, every time you interacted with that client, you would go in and record another contact service. And you would do that through either services or you could use quick services. And any of the path referrals were set up as a contact service. So anytime you recorded one of those, it would register in the system as a contact. So that's going away. The contact assessment will not be anything that you see in the workflows anymore, and recording services as a contact is not required either. Now, you still will continue to record any of the path services the individual path services, for instance, that you would provide to a client, those will still be provided, but as far as the whole contact idea, that is no longer a thing. Now, instead, you will be doing this living situation assessment. And so I want you to see what that will look like. And this will be something that comes in the workflow initially. So when you're doing enrollment, you're going to get to this page here, current living situation. And what it's going to ask you is what is their living situation right now. Now, if I am doing this on a path project, I'm only going to see these 5 options right here. So we can see those listed here. But I also mentioned this is also going to be required for any CE projects as well. So I have a CE project right here. If I was recording living situation for it, I will get the full list of living situations. And again, this is where are they living right now. So kind of the idea behind these assessments is that you would go ahead and record that. There's a location detail text box here if you do need to include anything there. You don't have to. Now, we have included a record contact button that you can use. Now, this is not anything that you're required to do. This is not anything that HUD says that we even need to, still have an option available. But we said, maybe some people for whatever reason, they want to continue to record the quote unquote contact, which is going to, of course, include that service. It would also allow you to go in and set a geolocation here. So if that's important to you, you have that option through this box. But again, that is not anything that's required. All that's required now going forward is that you are recording these living situations. And so the first one would be recorded in the intake workflow when you first start working with somebody. But then going forward, every time you are interacting with this client, again, whether you're street outreach, path, or a CE project, you're going to want to go in and record a living situation assessment. So you can do that in two different ways as far as on an ongoing basis. You can click the action button beside the enrollment. And like I showed you a few moments ago, you can click on living situation, quickly record that, where are they at right now, click save, and that information is going to be saved. Now, because this is no longer going to be recorded as a service, and we felt like sometimes this is beneficial really to all end users, because maybe I'm not a street outreach or path or CE provider, but I'm working with a client. I could go under services and see when the latest contact they had was with a particular organization, and I kind of know this client's still out there on the streets being seen by somebody. So to kind of help with that, we've added an additional menu option down here called Living Situation History, where all of those living situation assessments that are recorded, they will be listed here. So end users can still and organizations kind of work together when they're dealing with a client and kind of see that history. You can also click over here to Living Situation, and it's just going to give you the same history as well. And then it does have the Add New Living Situation button. Only difference here, you are having to go in and choose what enrollment you're wanting to associate that with, and then of course choose Living Situation. So the much faster way, again, to do it is just using this built-in button called Living Situation. So that is pretty much it. Like I said, this is can be a change or something that you're having to get used to. So we really wanted to kind of drive that in, that fact in, that you're going to have to go in now and record current living situation if you're going in and trying to, go to services and adding contact services, thinking that you're meeting your requirements, like if you're a path or street outreach or CE provider, like that's not going to cut it anymore. The current living situation is where you want to record that, and that's going to be on any interaction that you have with that client. So we expect to see a good bit of these living situation assessments created from here on out. Again, I know for our street outreach and path provider specifically, they've had to be capturing those contacts previously, so you're kind of used to the rhythm of, every time you have an interaction, go and record a contact. For CE providers, that is not something they've been doing, right? That's not something that you've been required to do. And so for you especially, it'll be something that you kind of have to get into that rhythm of, okay, I just met with the client, I just interacted with them, okay, I need to go record their current living situation. So as long as you're doing that, you will be good to go. As always, if you have any questions about this, be sure to click the help button, submit an issue ticket, and your COC admin will be more than glad to assist you in any way they can. Thanks.